Yeah, you done know. This is Blind Visionary, aka The Conduit, back with my latest blind review. Today I'm going to be talking about the solo debut from Planetary, member of Army of the Pharaohs and one half of the underground Philly group Outerspace. This came out on 12th of May 2023 and it's available on all streaming platforms. Support the real underground shit you done know. Anyway, you ever hear the saying a million times over, what you see is what you get? Well, in this particular case, I'd like to say what you hear is what you get. And I would like to label this particular album right here Planetary of the Pharaohs because is sonically and vibe wise an extension of what you get when you get an Army of the Pharaohs project. But in this case, everybody else but Planetary is doing what is usually being done on an AOTP project. Does this make sense? If it doesn't, it will once you hear the album. You'll get exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you're a fan of said artist and said group. And I assume that you are if you're watching this review. Now, Planetary has basically taken the if it ain't broke, don't fix it route. And I believe he also is giving the fans, us, what we want. And if you're expecting any type of introspective, deep, thought provoking content, this is not your project. This is, like I said, a bar fest. It's like familiarity, what dude is known for, but just on a minimized dosage that's given to you, but it has the same potency that would be there if it was a collective group effort with just a different kind of energy. And to top this off, there is a family element to this because his son produced the entire thing, and you can tell that this dude grew up around a bunch of influences and doesn't have a particular sonic identity. Like, he has stuff that is very, very obviously his type of generation, but for him to produce something for his dad, to have something that is actually comprehensible and sounds legit, like it doesn't sound forced, it doesn't sound like, okay, I'm trying to do something to pay homage to my dad and make him proud. It's like, no, there's genuine love on both ends as far as everybody involved being artists and the fact that there's a family dynamic going on here. And I think the palette was painted for Planetary to do exactly what I am describing to you all throughout this album, and with the exception of probably one and a half moments, maybe two, it's a bar fest, like I said. And some people might not be about that, but some people are. And especially if you're a fan of AOTP, you won't be disappointed. You won't be blown away either. It's kind of like, okay, you know, a really, really good familiar meal. You know you can rely on it. You know how it gonna make you feel. You know how you're gonna feel walking away from it. This is that particular case. It's not every time you want to go all out and have a new experience. Sometimes you just want comfort food. Yeah, audio comfort food. This is what this is. And with the exception of probably two songs that I have a personal gripe with, there are no bad songs on this album from a technical standpoint. But you don't know, so music is objective and subjective. And I just can't vibe with certain things. And certain things showed up on this. And it's not a complete takeaway from it. It's actually not a thing that would say, okay, these are skippers to me. It's just like, something is here that I'm really not cool with, but it's done properly and professionally. But other than those very small hiccups, it is a super, super, super solid project. Not too short, not too long, perfect length to just hold of vibes. And there are no guest appearances outside of Familia. I mean, actually, there is somebody who drops a verse, and there is one person doing a hook. Big up to Lawrence Arnell. Other than that, it's just Planetary. Planetary and his three sons. So, at this point, it is time to get into the section of the review where I break things down track for track. And based on everything I said, there's not very much I'm going to say in terms of the content and subject matter of each songs unless it calls for it. What I'm going to be focusing on going through various songs, from start to finish here is the vibe. The vibe and pointing out why I like or dislike something, or really, really like or somewhat dislike something, because there's absolutely nothing here that I really, really dislike. So there's that. So all right. With that out of the way, album opens up with Ruin Your Life. And right away you'll hear exactly what I said at the beginning of this review. What you hear is what you get. And I know the familiarity that will come from this will make you very, very, very happy. So I've said in all my reviews for the most part that I've done so far, the opener is very important. It's the area of a first impression in the realm of music, especially if you're introducing this artist to somebody for the first time. Very, very, very important. So on that front, beats and rhymes, they nailed it. So successful takeoff from the runway, and the plane has left. The plane is now in the sky. And second track is You Know Who I Am. And I think a snippet of this did leak a couple of months ago. And this was kind of what got me hyped for the album, because the familiarity was there, and would have no AOTP album in next year. No, right? Wait, yeah. Wait, shit. Yeah, next year. Gonna be 10 years since the last official one. And then, yeah, there's been a bunch of solo stuff and the Outerspace EP recently. But again, I think this is filling a void for fans of this crew, of this sound, of this type of vibe that was missing. And this song, big up to the J. Rue Damager sample for the hook, is just as solid and just as consistent as the first song. But then now we'll get to the third track, Where the Legends Are. And in my honest opinion, this song's just okay. And it's just because, like, okay, this is familiarity inside of familiarity. And by that I mean the sound palette as something that is a bit too familiar for me. Other people might say, oh my God, this is my favorite song on the album. And this is why it is what it is as far as people having opinions. But it's a dope song from the standpoint of it doesn't have whack rhymes. Sonically, everything is on par. It doesn't have whack drums. Like it's just not my thing. Zine, you know what is my thing though? The next song, Van Glory featuring Planetary's Three Sons. This is their internal posse cut / Army of the Pharaohs type joint. And this reminds me, for the most part, this entire album reminds me vibe-wise of Unholy Terror. And this is one of the most standout examples of that, besides the obvious it being multiple people on the song. And I don't know how to describe this except for it have an Odd Future vibe to it, if that makes any type of sense. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. If there's ever a second generation of AOTP, like how there's a second generation of Wu-Tang, we're in good hands. Like all three of these little youths who ain't so little, but you know, compared to, yeah, whatever, I digress. But basically, what I'm trying to get at is they are light years ahead of the average individuals their age doing what they're doing, and all their futures are bright. And this is my second favorite song on the album. Moving on to track 5, Holy Water. Back to the same vibe I'm telling you about, which is just a continuous AOTP vibe. As you hear this beat come in, and it have a little Walter White sample, you're thinking to yourself as a fan, alright, you're about to hear Vinnie Paz start rhyming and stuff, but again, it's a Planetary solo album. But it have the Planetary of the Pharaohs vibe. So that's why I'm labeling that. That's my story and I'm sticking to it, damn it. So yeah, familiarity, good familiarity, dope production, and especially I'd like to add on to the fact that I'm not a huge fan of beats with rim shots. I love heavy, raw, disgusting drums. But I can actually acknowledge when a beat with a rim shot is done properly. And this is one of the cases, so big ups to that. But this also ties in to an upcoming song that I have an issue with. And it's not because it's a bad song. I just think that with this song existing on the album, like these songs don't need to exist in the same space. That's just my opinion. The similarity is too much it is there, but that's me anyway. That's how I feel about it. But moving on though, this is an interesting song, track 6. I Get It. Now, off the bat, this reminds me of G-Unit, classic G-Unit vibes. So this is what I'm talking about when I say it's obvious that, you know, Element grew up around a lot of these things influencing him, and it wasn't dismissed. He has his own identity, but the influence is obvious, and it's a good thing. And one could say this is the equivalent of the album's club joint, if you want to call it that, but it have a vibe about it, and like it even have a little 50 sample in it, which kind of enforces what I'm saying. And I am very, 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 very liking this song. It's probably in my top 5 favorite songs on this album. This could have gone really, really, really wrong, as I've seen people try and it become a complete train wreck. So thankfully it didn't. So good shit, you don't know. Another song. So now we'll get to the Bicentennial. Good song. I actually like it, but the thing about the beat is, like I said, it is too similar to Holy Water, and I kind of did get that last Pusha T album for the same thing. Like, they were using beats that kind of had a similar vibe, even though Pusha T was going off on the lyrical tip. It took away from that, and I just think this could have a different beat or a different song here, especially because of what comes after it, which is by far, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite song on this project, which is Self-Destruction featuring Word Life. Now this beat, good Lord. Element, don't know. Big up my youth. You did a thing and a half on this beat. Favorite song by a long shot, like, yeah. Head nod right out the window. And both MCs, Word Life and Planetary, did their thing. And this was an easy win for favorite song on the album. And then it leads into It's Elementary, which is what I'd like to call the reflective, gratitude, still have to keep grinding song, while dealing with a bunch of political turmoil. Yeah, that's how I sum this up in a nutshell. And the sound palette, strangely enough, is like, okay, this is the key, the place on the album where it reminds you the most of the 90s, sonically. Like, you could have told me that Buckwild made this beat and I'd believe you. And it has some Obama clips in between the verses and continuous, like, the negative things, if you can't even call them that because they're just my opinions, have already been said about the album. That's gone. We're on the finishing stretch now, and I don't have nothing else but good to say about this project. So, moving on to number 10, Get Slumped. This was released a while ago, and I really, really like this song, and it kind of made me curious of the type of vibe the album was going to be on, because this is the West Coast version of a Planetary song or an AOTP song. Like, I could easily hear all other group members on this beat with the same hook. It's just like, it would have been even dope if there was like a Get Slumped remix and they somehow got a bunch of the dudes to come drop verses and shoot a video fight or something. That would be dope. But this beat remind me of like something EQ would have do. EQ from the Austria LA, big up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Planetary is cool with EQ. So yeah, I don't know if this is a coincidence or just the universe being in alignment or both, but like, dope song. And then we'll have 1-2 featuring Element. And look here. This is another song that reminds me of Odd Future / Next Generation AOTP type vibes, if that is to even be a thing. Because like the back and forth that Planet is doing with his son is when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, it would be weird to be in a position where I am making a song with my offspring and my offspring is holding his own with me. I would be proud and I would be inspired and I would be completely like just blow. Oh yeah, look at what I made. As far as a good song and as far as a good producer and as far as a good MC, Planet, you have every and anything to be proud about, and then some when it comes to this accomplishment. Not just the musical accomplishment, but what you've accomplished outside of this in your career and what you've accomplished as being a family man. I just wanted to take time out for big you up and say enough respect for that. So yeah, 12 now. Keep On, featuring Lawrence Arnell, is the song closer. And this is where stuff gets kind of heavy and kind of deep and kind of personal. And it kind of makes you, the listener, know two things. One, there's a reason this song is a closer. And two, why doing more of this kind of stuff on the album might have not been the right thing to do for a solo debut from people who are a fan base of this artist who expect a certain kind of thing. Maybe on upcoming releases him can expand on it, but keeping it at a minimum was actually a smart choice. And even though it's minimum, it's heavy and it's significant because it's family stuff, as far as him reflecting on being a father and the rainy days and how the smiles of his children gets him through stuff, and how dealing with his mom having dementia is kind of challenging, and his own health conditions, and just a whole bunch of other stuff going on in the world. And Lawrence Arnell coming with a chorus that complements the beat that is what I can only describe as, sounds like something that Havoc would make, that does complement what is being said also. And it's a great way to end what has been a very, 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 very solid debut release from somebody who I am personally a big fan of. And all I can say is, again, what you hear is what you get. You're not going to be disappointed. Like, if you are the type of person who have been a diehard fan, all you need to do is listen to the opening track and then hit buy. You don't need to listen to anything else. Just, if you like that, it's something that's worthy of being in your collection. So, like I said, support the real underground shit. You don't know. This has been another blind review. So as far as my score, I am going to give this 3.75 canes out of 5. Very, 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 very solid debut. You don't know. Bless up. I have spoken.
Viewfinder. Image. Viewfinder. Stop recording video.